Hey guys, and thanks for joining me today. As I said in my promo, today we're talking about 3 management habits that can drastically help improve your remote workplace. Now, a new survey highlights how miscommunication between managers and virtual employees is still an issue. As the remote workforce has grown, all fueled by technology improvements and the battle for top talent, so too have the stereotypes surrounding them. Now, the common narrative, once again, is the remote workers are isolated and disengaged and cut off from company culture or the company's culture. A new survey from Ultimate Software suggests that many of these assumptions are outdated, but the challenges still remain. Now, while remote workers report less stress and solid career growth, the survey highlights how miscommunication between the managers and virtual employees, again, is still an issue. Remote workers are nearly twice as likely as in-office employees to feel frequently misunderstood and misinterpreted in the workplace. And 1/3 or 33% of remote workers say this happens quite often. Meanwhile, they're facing burnout, trying time and time again to prove their worth to their teams and management. Now, 76% of remote employees report working beyond their set hours on a weekly basis. Sound familiar? Figured it did, especially if you're a remote worker. So what's the real disconnect here? Managers are saying that they report giving the same feedback to their remote and in-office direct reports. So again, where is the disconnect? Perhaps it's not the frequency of communication that's being provided, but it's the quality of communication that's important to engaging remote workers. As one report finds, a top concern among managers is monitoring the productivity of the remote workers. But now the remote workers are saying or reporting high levels of productivity on any given day. So there's definitely miscommunication taking place. But the challenge is helping the remote workers translate that productivity back to their management and providing tools that enable managers to listen more effectively. So, how do we better engage remote workers, managers that is? It's simple, but it's not simple. Consistent feedback from managers is essential to closing the experience gap between them and the in-office workers. But in addition to that, like I said before, here are 3 management habits that can help drastically improve the remote workplace. All right? So consistent feedback and these 3 habits that I'm about to get into. Number 1, avoid micromanagement. A lack of face time makes it tempting for managers to micromanage remote workers, which is why it's recommended to have a team communication and operating agreement. Okay? Now, this agreement or this plan guides the managers and the remote workers on things like how often to produce or provide status reports, preferred communication channels, and what information needs to be communicated to whom. Now, clear guidelines can kind of ease the anxieties that lead to micromanaging, while instilling a greater sense of accountability among the remote employees or the remote workers. Number 2, create a space of collaboration. One common problem remote workers face is that they feel out of sight and out of mind to their teams and managers, and that's not good. To avoid this, managers should try to adopt a mindset that focuses on the remote workers' potential to contribute both to important business goals and the company's culture. Managers should ensure that there's room at the end of every team meeting for collaborating with the remote employees or even simply trading water cooler chat. Little things like this, virtual space that allows for this kind of connection, can go an awfully long way. And number 3, understanding the remote workers' unique needs. Now, you should all know about now that there's no one size fits all in leadership. So it's important to understand each of your team members' unique needs, including remote workers. Hold frequent check-ins that really get to the heart of how the employees feel about their work, both day-to-day experience and long-term goals. Then hyper-personalize management tactics based on their feedback. The world is increasingly hyper-personalized, and employees are beginning to expect that level of personalization in the workplace as well. So, how do we help managers to succeed? It's ultimately up to the managers to engage workers, and hopefully this tidbit of information sheds light on ways companies can help support them. While managers agree that consistent communication is the most important step, 1/3 of them said that they would like to have a larger travel budget so that they can have more face-to-face time with remote workers. Technology shortcomings may also be hindering their management tactics. The majority, or 57% of the managers, would like more regular communication channels, while 31% would like better software that would allow them to better understand their employees' feelings. Now, remote employees may have different goals, challenges, and communication preferences than that of their in-office colleagues, and therefore require different management styles. But in order to ensure remote work stereotypes fall off by the wayside, managers must maintain consistent feedback and communication. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your day to really be here to get this nugget of information. And as always, if you guys need any help with leadership and development, leadership and team building development, or remote or distributive leadership, especially with diversity in there somewhere, please contact me and let me know. I'd be more than happy to sit down and put together a detailed plan to ensure your success with your leadership and your team's success as well. All right? Remember, great leadership equals great results. How are you leading? Whether you're a new leader who needs the building blocks of leadership and a playbook on how to be effective, a seasoned leader who needs to understand that there are two sides to leadership, or a leader who just needs some inspiring insight or leadership seeds to enhance your leadership abilities, the CDB Consulting Group has the resources you need. There are two key elements successful leaders have that unsuccessful ones don't: self-discipline and the understanding to constantly invest in themselves. So pick up a copy or the entire collection and start investing in your leadership today. Available at Amazon.com. Remember, great leadership equals great results. How are you leading?